Welcome to the Natural Health and Healing Show with one of New England's leading nutritionists, Mark Mincola. The show is brought to you by the Good Health Stores in Hanover and Quincy. Call Mark at 781-837-4900 with your health and nutrition questions. Now, here's Mark.
Good evening and welcome. I want everybody out there in the listening audience to count to 6 with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is the exact number we're going to be discussing this evening. As our guest, we have Dan Hegrich, who has recovered from cancer not once, not twice, but 6 times.
So that's the 6 that we just counted.
That's the 6 that we just counted. I want everybody to be really cognizant of that fact. You know, folks think about how virtually impossible it is to recover from cancer. I know so many people that I work with, the minute they're given the brand of cancer, they think that's it. It's impossible. Dan Hegrich, however, is living proof that you can recover from cancer. Not once, not twice, really as many times as you're prepared to deal with.
Just flip a coin in the morning tomorrow, and heads you're alive, tails you die. So if you do it 6 times, you're on my team.
There you go.
If you pull it up heads 6 times, you're on my team.
And Dan, say hello to Catherine Foley.
Hi, good evening.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
And Dan Hegrich, of course, is someone who is no stranger to the Natural Health and Healing audience. He's been here on a number of different occasions. Always wonderful to have you back here.
It's great to be back here, Mark.
And you've got some upcoming events of great interest. Why don't you mention those as well?
I do. The most prominent one is the Healing is Primary workshop that's going to be coming up in Toronto area this Friday, in fact, April 24th to the 26th. And we're going to actually dissect that word healing.
Wonderful. We have an awful lot of listeners in the Canada area that from time to time call in the program, so I know there's a whole network up there in Canada. Anybody in the Toronto area, you're not going to want to miss Dan Hegrich, believe me when I tell you. Dan speaks from the heart. He speaks from experience. He is someone who really knows very well what the entire holism of cancer and cancer recovery is all about. Talk to us a little bit. I mean, for those folks who are maybe just tuning in to listen to you for the very first time, Dan, talk a little bit about your experience with life before cancer, leading into cancer. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I was living the American dream,
which
means all the stuff. I put all my happiness into the stuff outside of myself, into the people, places, and things of the material world, thinking it's going to fill the empty void or the yearning that I truly had. And that left me a victim of everything outside of myself, or a victim to everything outside of myself, including my own health, including my own wealth, and including my own relationship with my personal self and with self with others.
Well, and a victim unto your own self.
True enough.
And those things really changed pretty dramatically as you went through your sequences with disease. An awful lot of folks, of course, that we all meet in the course of this remarkable life experience who've been through such incredible confrontation tend to learn a great deal one way or the other, do they not?
That's a paradigm right there of the paradoxical realm, yes and no. Some people choose to learn and some people choose not to learn. So some people will carry things to their grave and just live it out, or some people choose to work it out in this lifetime.
And if you could crystallize the most important lesson you learned through your 6 battles with cancer, what would that crystallization reflect?
It's to reclaim myself, to make happiness intrinsic, and to be the happiness that I am rather than to seek it outside of myself. So therefore, I am not a victim to the circumstances or the stimuli outside of myself, that I can choose to be happy with who I am right now as I am. That's the greatest lesson. And to cultivate that on a regular basis, and as my workshop title says it, is to make healing primary. It has to be a focal point as primary, conscious healing. If I leave it to the graces, then I'm subjected to the curse that might be coming of that. I'm playing with fire.
Right.
So to consciously live and to consciously heal is what erases things from the memory banks and from the impressions upon our own emotional body, so to speak.
Right. Now, because I've known you for so many years, I know that so many aspects of your quickening with holism have become extremely vital to your life process. I mean, diet is extremely important to you. Positive thinking is extremely important to you. The upliftment of your spirit is very important to you. These are real powerful, powerful agents in your life these days. Mm-hmm. And if you were to, select one bit of very heartfelt advice to share with somebody who might be listening tonight out there in the audience who, maybe on Friday was just diagnosed with cancer, and they think that that's it, their life's over, and there's no hope. Mm-hmm. And they think that cancer is this static reality as opposed to a biological fluidity, that has good days and bad. I always remind my patients, cancer is no different than you. It has good days and bad days. It has to respond to the laws of biochemistry. Right. And if you want to learn how to artfully become a bad host, then let me teach you. But what advice would you give to that person who received that news on Friday?
Well, you have to check in with what your current philosophy is of life itself. So do you follow the philosophy of the modern medical allopathic model? Or do you follow maybe another more holistic, more natural approach philosophy? Because if you don't believe in it 100%, there'll be that opportunity for failure. Mm-hmm. So you have to check in with your belief structures surrounding it, and then remove yourself from your current circle of friends, because they're going to actually be the saboteur of that psychological philosophy if it's against theirs. So you need a mentor and a community that follow your philosophy.
All right, so let's start with let's focus on that for a moment. Again, somebody who perhaps was just diagnosed and they're contemplating the darkness right now.
Right.
And they're thinking to themselves that perhaps what really resonates with them mm-hmm. is an alternative approach. Mm-hmm. However, their circle of friends and family doesn't agree with that. Mm-hmm. And to your point, it requires a community. So where do they get their community from?
Well, the first part is they're going to have to get their community with themselves. They're going to have to really take hold of that philosophy and say that you're not my space. I can't be here with you for this. You're not here with me, so who represents that? Mm-hmm. And so if it's, first of all, let's say in my life it was exercise, where do people exercise? So I started to go and find that, which was in a health club. At least that has the right word. Right. And start going there. But usually places of holistic nature will have boards of communities, to go down to more of an organic store, like maybe even Good Health down in Hanover. They've got, more people going in with conscious awareness towards healthier living. So that's the first step I would do, is just go down there.
So they don't have to be alone.
You can't do it alone anymore. If you try, that's going to really make the healing process a lot more difficult and less enjoyable. But you don't want to also be around people that represent where you are. So if you're around cancer patients and you're a cancer patient, you're stuck in that cancer patient mode. You got to go to people where you want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
The next step. So you want to be around cancer survivors or beyond.
Right.
That's what I did. I spent one session in a cancer patient so-called community. One session. And I walked out and I said, that's a mistake. Because that's going to keep me there. Yeah. And I started to find another community in my own mind, which was the health community.
Yeah, that's why I think that was such an important question to pursue your wisdom from, because I think that a number of folks that I continue to see out there on a really regular basis who really believe with great enthusiasm that their path is indeed an alternative path, but the people in their circle do not ascribe to that.
No.
And they feel abandoned. They feel really very concerned. They question themselves. They doubt themselves, because of the kind of consternation that their circle emits. So in so many of those cases, those folks really feel very much alone and very confused. But your advice is great because, number one, find your community within yourself. Mm-hmm. And then number two, seek out those like-minded people in those environments that can be supportive to you.
And you brought up a very good point, because when they start to feel that aloneness, when they start to feel their people that they're around sabotaging them, that's part of the creation of the illness.
Say something more about that. I mean, I've got it, but for someone out there scratching their head, I want them to get it clearly.
It's now these folks are stimulating the abandonness you already brought into those relationships. So those relationships aren't making you feel whole and authentic and one with yourself. They're making you feel separated, dysfunctional, and it's keeping it all alive. Right. So now that comes to the surface where they're sabotaging or against what your belief is. Well, that's just showing the true relationship you had with that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Those that are with you and acknowledge you and are neutral and supportive, that's the true person you want in your inner circle.
Yes. It takes a community to raise a child into the kind of human being that is either well or unwell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really, the gray matter's not there. It's black or white.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there are people out there saying cancer 6 times. What do you say to that? 6 times. I mean, is it that you just had to get this thing called truth really right?
No, that just shows the ingrained impression of the traumas that I've experienced that needed the intensity level to be greater than that emotional impression that was stuck in there. So intensity was necessary to break that, shatter that down, so to speak. Like anything else we want to break through, you need to beat that intensity. Even if I want to break a glass, I have to strike it with something of more intensity to break through it. So me, being classically ingrained in a very emotionally traumatic, suppressed life, needed a really strong awakening to break through it, but also showed me that I had this divine soul that was willing to go through that to get to the depth of what illness is, and then to understand illness from a very deep level so I could share what health is.
Yeah. And to appreciate the limitless power of your soul.
I'm getting to play with it now.
All right, on that note, we're going to take a short little break. We'll be right back with Dan Hegrich. Stay right where you are. Would you like to dramatically improve your memory and your attitude? Perhaps you'd like to uplift your negative thinking and completely transform your life. Hello, this is Mark Mincola of the Natural Health and Healing Show. Join me on Thursday evening, May 7th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Rockland Holiday Inn, 929 Hingham Street for a talk entitled Train Your Brain, Change Your Mind, Transform Your Life. Tickets are $20 in advance. To register, call Candide at 781-834-2728 or log on to www.thehealthylivingguide.com. Come and learn to train your brain, change your mind, and transform your life.
This is Catherine from Jarrow Formulas. We're happy to have continued our relationship with Mark Mincola in the Health and Healing Show, and we're happy to announce a new product from Jarrow Formulas called Jarrow Cell. We all know that as the body ages, it heals less rapidly and becomes frailer. Often the body is unable to process enough nutrients to repair weakening cartilage and protein fibers. A very important element in building and repairing your body is silicone. But unfortunately, as we grow, you may have difficulty absorbing adequate silicone from your diet. But now, thanks to a product called Jarrow Cell, you can be sure to get your share. Jarrow Cell can give you the silicone you need to support your bone health, bone mineral density, and in addition, Jarrow Cell strengthens and beautifies your hair, skin, and nails. Jarrow Cell is available now in a synergistic liquid formula that also includes boron and zinc. Ask for Jarrow Cell at your local health food stores. Or for more information, you can go to the Jarrow website, which is www.jarrow.com.
Alrighty, welcome back. We are talking with dear friend Dan Hegrich. Dan is also known as the blue-collar healer. He's been traveling from one side of this great country to the other in his mission to give regular people the proper tools to heal themselves. Dan is an approachable, honest, and wise guy. There's no doubt about it. And he's dedicated to permanently improving the lives of all those very fortunate people that he meets. By the way, for more information on Dan, you might check out his website, www.absolutehealing.com. Pretty easy to remember, absolutehealing.com. And again, he's, for those listeners up in the Canada area, the April 24th through the 26th at 1160 Lisbon Road in Wesley, Ontario, Canada. You can contact Andrea Leonard for this particular presentation. Her number is 519-9397. There's not enough numbers there, Dan.
So we got another one right here.
We got more numbers here.
Sure.
Let's see. 519-656-9397.
That's helpful.
696-539397. And again, Friday evening there will be a 6 to 9 potluck dinner. Let's see, and a talk. And Saturday from 10 to 5, another presentation with a movie and a dinner, and Dan, of course, doing his thing. Then Sunday again from 10 to 5, and it's going to be a real special event. And once again, that's going to be up in the Ontario, Canada area. Interested in spending the weekend with Dan Hegrich, and if you can do that, please give it a serious consideration. Call Andrea Leonard again, 519-696-9397.
We could add if they're interested in spending a weekend with their true self.
More importantly. Yeah, absolutely.
No need to be afraid, folks. It's going to be wonderful.
Absolutely. And now you've been doing some really remarkable things. I know that you're always doing your work, and you were just recently in the Yucatan Peninsula. Is that correct?
No, it was actually the Baja Peninsula.
That's right, Baja Peninsula.
That could be a future gig, but Baja Peninsula, and it was a transitional choice. I had still had this vulnerable feeling of holding on to this identity of a cancer survivor, and I wanted nature to help me shed that skin, and so I wanted to make it long enough and challenging enough that I would do that. So I spent 5 months in a tent with nature, swimming in the creeks and eating food from the gardens, the organic garden, and just loving the process of getting in touch with circadian rhythm, healing the nervous system, and then jumping into this role as a teacher, an educator, as a friend, and as a lover of life, and really putting that skin on,
right,
and taking ownership of that more and more. And this workshop's kicking it off, so those that are coming are really going to have a wonderful, wonderful time.
Well, you've certainly touched the lives of so many, many people over the years, and I know that every time you put these events together, there's always breakthrough healing that takes place for so many people. The focus of this is going to be different than any other presentation in any way. Tell me.
Yeah, we're going to go deeper. I'm going to bring the intensity more so we can really break through those ingrained, hardened, rigid self, that we can actually peel that off in some way. So the intensity is going to be, we're going to use breath work as part of the intensity. We're going to use thinking, real honest thinking and honest work, doing the work in terms of writing, reading, and getting to that vulnerability in a group setting, because we can be vulnerable in closets. I don't know, I'm a good closet crier. But when you get out there and shed tears with each other in the presence of others, that's when we start to actually heal. That's when we see our vulnerability and our real humanness. And that's what this is about. It's a humanist point of view. It's a experience of helping each other heal.
And this program is, these tools that you're teaching people they're not just tools for people that are struggling with disease. They're tools for people that are just, living life and want to kind of live a fuller life.
Sure. I mean, either if you're not proactively consciously healing,
right,
then you're unconsciously dying.
Right.
So it depends on who you are. If you're consciously healing, then this is going to enhance and ingrain and lock in that, and give you greater depth to it. Or if you're on the other way, heading towards the dark side and using that as a metaphor, then this will shift you 180 degrees and it'll start making you head towards your truth and your honesty and the light within you.
To me, there's only flow or resistance.
That's it.
And what you're all about is essentially, you're a living example of flow who is coming from a place of resistance that was so powerful that it forced you to choose and to really help other people to make that choice.
Well, that's the soul in me and my own intentions was I came here to help. So I used that intensity, that experience, as a fueling mechanism to get to that. In other words, it was a reason for me to go through what I had to go through.
What is healing, Dan?
Heading eternally after the love in God. It's an acronym I came up with.
That's great.
Say that one more time.
Heading eternally after the love in God.
That's magnificent. And how do we heal ourselves?
By choice, really. And then by, again, the factors is get a mentor, get a community, and start looking at your issues around wealth and understanding about what wealth is and money. And then really intrinsically is, do you want to?
One of the questions that you asked too with your Healing as Primary program is, have you ever wondered why a cut heals automatically?
Think about it, because what happened was this one morning I had cut myself, and I looked and I just watched it and observed it, and I was like, what's occurring right now? Why is that? What's happening? And everything was magically occurring, right? So I had this thought that the body's wisdom is doing its thing. Mm-hmm. And then I questioned, is there such a thing as body's wisdom? And there is no body wisdom, because the body does nothing without me in it. So the reality is was it the Shakti in me? Was it the divine energy in me doing the healing? Absolutely. So I said, healing's primary. Healing is primary. It's always on board. It's always happening, and it's my choice in the process.
Well, I like to say that the universe is filled with abundant energy.
Yeah.
And there's an internal universe within us.
Mm-hmm.
There's an external universe about us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're open to the flow, then you have more than enough energy to heal anything.
Yeah, the energy's just being held back.
Absolutely, as opposed to somebody who is either unwittingly or consciously blocking it.
Yeah.
So there's no shortage of medicine, is there?
No. There's just shortness of desire.
I like that.
Yeah, one of the things that I always remind people, it's like even when you think about the word endorphin. Endorphin means brain morphine.
Yeah.
And they've actually assessed human brain morphine as 25,000 times more powerful than the morphine produced by the pharmaceutical industry. Mm-hmm. And the only time that it's generated is when the interior cingulates and the areas, the 5 vectors in the brain, are being stimulated by positive thinking, by a willingness to believe and a willingness to get involved.
Mm-hmm. That's why you need the mentor in the community to have done it.
And it goes really from thought to the nervous system to the body.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sequence of flow.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's talk about the mind for a minute. What most people I think really need to understand more clearly is that every thought produces a matching chemistry. So it's extremely important that they understand the power of their thoughts and the ability of human thought to generate chemistry. You better help us understand that a little bit.
Well, here is how I see it, that we're thinkers. We're all thinking. We're either thinking up problems in order for us to think how to solve them. We're thinking up problems in our lives to think how we can hide from them. We're always in the process of thinking, because you cannot be alive without the thinking. And since you've thought yourself to be here, you might as well do something about that. You might as well think about it in a different way.
It's like, what does the Course in Miracles say? The Course in Miracles says, if you knew who stood beside you in the life that you've chosen for yourself, you'd never be fearful again.
I use it in a very blue-collar way, is if you don't like the way your life is running, who's the manager of your life? And then look that person in the mirror and say, you're fired.
Yeah, who's the manager?
I'm firing you, buddy. I did that one morning, and I came up with it. I'm like, my life sucks. I don't like this. You're fired. And I started to really laugh, Mark. I just thought that was the funniest thing, that I was mismanaging myself, and I fired myself, so I spent the whole day not knowing who to hire.
Who's the manager at this joint? There's a fly in my suit.
And that's just taking ownership of my truth with humor.
That's great.
That is beautiful. Talk to us for a moment or two about breath. The power of breath.
The power of breath. When we were born, we came into the world, and how we experience that first breath creates circumstances for our entire life. So how was that first breath introduced to us? And how fearful was it? Because that's the most traumatic experience that we can experience. And it's so much that we go unconscious. We're still unconscious about it. And the breath, if you start to breathe properly, you start to get those memories back, and possibly you'll experience consciously your first breath.
And a really powerful point there is that so many folks, from the day they're born to the day they die, never take their first real natural breath.
The coming home breath.
The coming home breath. When you think about it, an infant fights their way through the birth canal. You know, we know how much of a struggle it is for mom, how much work it is for mom. We all know that.
Right.
Hey, it's an awful lot of work for baby as well. And what's the first greeting they get? A spank on the behind.
Well, they also get their umbilical cord cut within 10 minutes, which is the oxygen supply. So they never have a proper transition from a place of safety and warmth and comfort. And now they go to almost to oxygen deprivation.
Yeah.
So the so-called process should be about 4 hours before the baby's umbilical cord is cut.
Right.
And there should be no slapping, because we should have trust in the divine energy that baby will breathe on its own accord, and then life will be easy because breath is easy and I'm accepted as I am, and I can grow at the rate that I choose.
We begin cultivating dis-ease awfully early, do we not?
Right in the womb.
Remarkable process. Remarkable process. We are going to take a very short breather, and we'll be back with Dan Hegritt. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned. Right in our area, we are fortunate to have one of the top martial arts schools in the country, Personal Best Karate. Personal Best has been recognized for their community involvement, professional staff development, character building programs, and exciting educational curriculum. Personal Best stands at the top of their industry. 5 locations offering personalized professional instruction. Not sure if karate is right for you? At no obligation, the staff at Personal Best will guide you in a private introductory program to see if karate is indeed the right fit to help you achieve your goals and meet your needs. What does karate at Personal Best teach you? Character building, success habits, helps you get in shape, relieve stress, self-control, setting goals, and of course, self-defense. Personal Best's goal is to create successful, contributing members of society through the practice of the martial arts at Personal Best. Mr. Chris Rappold is, of course, the founder of Personal Best Karate. He tells me his greatest joy of all is to see the personal transformation in each and every student. Bring out your best with Personal Best Karate. Telephone number 508-285-5425. That's 508-285-5425. Locations in Norton, Foxborough, Southeaston, Franklin, and Taunton. That's Personal Best Karate.
Join us for the 9th International Herb Symposium, celebrating the healing power of plants, June 19th through the 21st. It's a symposium to touch your heart and soul, as well as mind and spirit. This gathering is for all people enraptured by the healing essence of herbs. Learn from an extraordinary gathering of herbal teachers, elders, and healers from all around the world. Over 90 workshops for all levels of interest and experience. Over 50 teachers representing 12 countries. Herbal intensives for in-depth study, panel discussions and case studies, hands-on demonstrations, and wild plant identification walks, and an herbal marketplace, evening entertainment, and dancing. The 9th International Herb Symposium, June 19th through the 21st will be held at the beautiful Wheaton College in Norton. To register or for more information, call 802-479-9825. That's 802-479-9825. Or log on to internationalherbsymposium.com.
All right, we also want to, of course, remind everybody out there that our flagship sponsor, Good Health Natural Foods, 1627 Hancock Street, 617-773-4925. Also, 219 Columbia Road in Hanover, 781-834. 2728, and of course, Good Health Natural Foods has been on board with us for the full 7 years. It'll be our 7th anniversary coming up on Father's Day in June. So, I can't say enough. I can't thank the folks at Good Health, Ralph and Diane, and their entire great staff. And of course, my son Nick over there. I've got to thank those guys over there for being solid for us each and every week. And get over there and pay them a visit, pick up your supplements, and check out some of the organic produce because it may not be around long.
I know. That's wild.
Better learn how to eat from the breath of life.
From the breath of life. That's Good Health Natural Foods. For all things natural, it is indeed Good Health Natural Foods. All right, Dan Hegerich, talk to us a little about your nutrition world these days. I know that nutrition's it's been an important discovery for you. You've gone through a remarkable series of evolutions with regards to your nutritional discoveries and learnings. Talk to us a little bit about that.
It's coming from a philosophy of food. What is food? And because I was sick and I was healing, I was, how can I use food as medicine?
Well, start us off before that. Start us off with how you used food as a weapon.
Yeah, the sad American diet, classic scene where there's two parts to that. One is the processed food, the highly addictive behavior with carbohydrates, particularly the wheat, and the gluten and gliadin molecule within those grains that contain it because of its digestibility. And then the second one would be the processed dairy industry because of the pasteurization that makes the casein extremely problematic and the fat molecules that get through the cell membrane undigested.
It leaves so much of the sugars, the lactose, which should be reduced by bacteria if they're in there. But
well, the lactase that's contained in raw milk is damaged by the pasteurization process. So, I was on that. I was heavy into drinking, numbing out all the emotional dysfunction within me. Just a classic case of obsessiveness to hide. And using food and anything that went into my mouth, anything that went in my nose, my eyes, and my ears. And that's one part of it. And the other part is whatever I put my environment in. So whatever I surround myself is nutrition. So am I surrounding myself with beauty or am I surrounding myself with ugliness? Right. And we become the filters of our environment. So we feed off of everything that we put on our skin. So, I was a polyester guy, maybe wearing polyester, which the skin cannot breathe through it. It's plastic, and that's why you get your static cling in the dryer. It's from polyester because it's a plastic.
Yeah.
So
petrochemically based as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Phthalates and, all of the nasty chemicals.
Mm-hmm. So now we come full circle and saying, wow, I don't think I was designed to do that. So I started to start to live the other way, which is wearing natural fibers, getting out in fresh air, surrounding myself with beautiful people.
Hey, Dan, better living through science.
Manipulation and profit.
So I always explain to my patients on a routine basis that disease is the perfect holism.
Well, it awakens you to your power of choice.
Disease is the perfect a priori holism.
Yeah.
If you eat the way Dan used to, the way you drank, the alcohol, the abusive foods, and the unnatural foods, and the lower level of awareness, and being sort of caught up in really negative emotions. It's a representation for so many of our lives.
I call it the psychological illness. In other words, there's only one illness, and that's separation from divinity in a spiritual idealistic sense, and cellularly you know that it's separation from homeostasis.
Right.
But psychologically, it's the saboteur that chooses the deathness over aliveness. In other words, the one that doesn't love to live in a life of enjoyment and a life of healthiness and says, oh, you know what, I had a great day yesterday. I had great salads and I ate healthy. I felt great. Today I get 2 coffees and a bagel and I get all this crap. Because they've activated the saboteur in the psychological disease.
I'm going to steal that for the new book that I'm working on right now.
You got it.
Separation from divinity. I love that. That's beautiful.
That's where the one spiritual disease is. And also in a realistic point of view, Mark, it's the separation from your true joy.
Yeah.
Talk to me about physical immortality versus death mentality.
It's just right there. Death has been trained in us or ingrained in us that it's inevitable. And nobody's questioned whether that is a choice or not. And all spiritual literature and the gurus, the sages, they all say we're physically immortal. We're alive right now. That should mean we're physically immortal. So death is only defined when we're no longer alive. So why not accept and adopt that I'm physically immortal right now? And the benefit of that is feeling more aliveness and focusing on moving towards greater aliveness.
Well, at the very least, we're immortal in the moment.
Yeah, and your choice will decide whether or not you're making healing primary to create more aliveness in your life, or are you choosing those things that are known to create havoc and play a role in creating your...
You can choose to live in eternity in an instant, in a moment-to-moment eternity.
Yeah, and the idea is the Ayurvedic doctors say that longevity is the goal of trying to achieve greater acknowledgement of your godliness.
Right. Same thing they say in the Taoists say. They say the whole purpose of striving to live to practice Taoist alchemy, nutrition, and the internal alchemies and that sort of thing is to get to that 120 years that you're supposed to get to. And they say the only reason for living 120 years is to spend the proper amount of time cultivating the wisdom.
Yeah. And actually applying it.
Absolutely.
Which is where you actually acquire wisdom, is application of thought. That's where wisdom's born.
And sharing it.
And sharing that as well. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So we get to choose, again.
Again, emotional response technique.
Mm-hmm. ERT. That basically is a stream of thought. So you wake up, you'd spend 15 to 30 minutes, stream of consciousness writing. Just let your pen go. And the 2 tricks to that is don't let the pen leave the paper. So if you say, I'm confused, you write confusion. You write exactly in trying to capture your first thought or your thoughts. No judgments, just write it out. And then you review what you just wrote. And you read out loud each sentence. And when you read it out loud, you determine whether it's a negative statement, a positive statement, or a question. You take the negatives and flip them into a positive. You take the positives and you write those down. And then you take the questions for you to answer later. And you do that for the whole page. And the next day you start it all over.
That's great. We are talking with old friend Dan Hegrich. Dan is also known as the Blue Collar Healer. He's been traveling from coast to coast on a mission. How many years have you been doing this work, Dan?
I've been traveling for 8-something years, a little over 8 years.
Starting and traveling for...
Yeah, it's been about 8 years now, gathering information like a bee.
And he's got an upcoming seminar for those of you up in Canada. That's April 24th through 26th, a 3-day presentation. And you can contact Andrea Leonard at 519-696-9397. It's going to be a great 3-day event. Dining and potluck dinner and some great human growth, sharing in the human growth process and healing process with a very special gentleman who knows a great deal about life and about healing. I think, too, it's really important to emphasize and to point out what your travels as far as your growth. I know you've done so much. You've studied with so many different teachers and masters, and you've really put a lot of remarkable time in learning and growth. You're dedicated. Your whole life has been turned around and dedicated to it.
I know, and it's really fun to know that I have something to dedicate my entire life towards.
It's magnificent. So share with us some of the places you've studied, some of the work you've done.
My start was in Australia. Well, actually, it was the Czech Institute with Paul Czech. That was in 1997, studying the body. And I felt that, diet, exercise at that time was important. And in exercise...
That's in New Mexico?
He's in Vista, California.
Vista, California, that's right.
And I've seen his evolution in the process. But what it was that if I could bring my body into balance, the physical body, then I'm bringing my mind into balance. Sure. I'm bringing everything into balance. So I started there because I was a physical guy. And then it progressed into bringing my diet more in alignment with whole foods. If I want to be a whole human being, let's get whole food in us. It's just common sense, right? And then to study what does whole food mean, because I've been so removed from what whole food was. So that's where I really started the process. And then from there, I went to Sydney, Australia to deepen that with sports massage therapy and nutrition and meeting up with a lot of great healers, mainly breath workers. I started to learn that, the conscious connected breathing, which had advanced to finding Michael White, who taught me about proper mechanical breathing and the carbon dioxide oxygen exchange. That was a wonderful trip. And then Dan Brule and Breath Mastery down in Baja.
Yeah.
Learned with him.
You also did some work studying with Gabriel.
Well, I didn't study with Gabriel. I studied his work on a personal note, but I went to the Tree of Life to observe his work in action. So that was more the raw vegan community based on the Essene Gospel of Peace. Beautiful work he's doing in the world and the organization he's put together. Leonard Orr with the rebirthing movement that he started in the early 70s. I trained with him for 3 weeks. I remember that. That was a wonderful experience.
You worked in our offices for a while.
Worked in the Max Healing was a blast.
It was great.
Hanging out with Joel and yourself and learning from you two gifted people. Billy with his massage technique. If you want your massage worked out, he'll do it.
Great stuff.
And then Ty Bien was there as well, doing wonderful acupuncture.
Yes.
So one of the greatest teachers, of course, was my willingness to take a look. I remember I went through a bipolar phase in 2004 or 5, and I remember it coming on, and I actually sat with my friend Joel, J.P. Sears, and he watched me go through it, how you heal consciously. And that was about a 4.5-week, 5-week process of do nothing was the phrase. Watch it, become it, and totally transcend it from the cellular memory.
That's fantastic.
And that was the greatest lesson, is just sitting with it and observing it.
Let me ask you a question. Now, a 6-time cancer survivor, at what point did you really get the message? Do you distinctly remember?
Yeah, it's when my wife left the marriage.
Is that right?
My wife at the time, yeah. See, it was an incredible thing, because that was part of the ingrainment of what cancer was representing, was when when our marriage came to its natural end, that's when I sat there completely stripped to the bone of my unhappiness. And that unhappiness I was observing and experience, I said, this is not heaven on earth as I know it to be, or want it to be. Where is this unhappiness coming from, and what's causing it? So my true nature of happiness, bliss, joy, is pushing the unhappiness to the surface for healing. It has to come to consciousness for healing. So when she left, I had recognized the pain and the unhappiness I was experiencing was exactly what my relationship was in that marriage, except for I had the social mask that hid it. And when she left, I had placed my happiness into her, and when she left, I felt like, oh my God, there goes my happiness. I have to be stuck with what I am, which is unhappiness. So that was the true awakening process, and it led to my psychological imbalance of bipolar illness, which is a genetic stuff that's being expressed for healing. Comes to the consciousness. Then it led me to the psychiatric ward for healing, and I got my cancer back while I was in the psychiatric ward. So I had all of this stuff going on in one single moment. I had cancer, loss of identity, divorce. What else? The cancer came back 2 or 3 days into the psychiatric ward. So I had all that going on for me. And if that isn't intense enough, I suggest you don't try it. Mythbusters might get a hold of that, but I don't. They might have trouble with it. So that was the biggest process because it led to the greatest intensity.
So this whole concept of mind-body medicine and this whole concept of nocebo, placebo, where someone can get so emotionally depressed and so overwrought emotionally and so negatively charged with negative emotions that they can create a recurrent illness or an illness means a great deal to you.
100%. Now, I want to add to that the suppression of your natural joy is a negative emotion.
Is there anything different from the suppression of your natural joy versus separation from divinity?
Nope. Not in my world.
That was a rhetorical question.
In somebody else's world, if they want to keep separated, go for it. But, follow your joy.
So if someone out there right now is interested in making a connection with you other than this seminar, they can connect with you through your web address?
Yeah, I'm going to make a correction. I think it was misstated last time. It's Absolute Health and Healing. It's two components to our lives.
AbsoluteHealthAndHealing.com.
Yeah, .com. And they can email me or I always advise people go to the website to see where my philosophy is and where it comes from so that if it resonates with them, then let's engage in the process of qualifying each other as potential workers together.
And again, that's www.AbsoluteHealthAndHealing.com.
Yeah.
And I can tell you this, if you are thinking about doing some healing work for yourself and you want to work with Dan, you better be real. You better be real about it. You better be serious about it. There will be no codependent hookups with Dan Hegrich.
I'm the closer. It's in the ninth inning, folks. I'm the closer. You've been set up by all the other guys. So here we go. You're up at the plate, and I'm the closer.
Dan's throwing strikes.
Yeah.
He doesn't mess around with any kind of curveballs or any stuff like that. Coming right at you, straight down the middle.
And if you want to have fun doing it, let's go for it.
Absolutely. So this upcoming seminar sounds like it's going to be an absolute remarkable experience. It sounds like something really special. And you've got two more seats available, or two more spaces available.
We've got two more spaces. I want to keep these small and quaint so that it's not too large so vulnerability can be exposed. The greater the crowd, the more trouble some people have with that. So I love keeping the workshops down to 10 people. And we when I was partying in my days, I remember the best parties were like the ones with the least amount of people. It was like the best parties were like 6 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the most fun, the most organic,
Or at the very least, toward the end of those parties.
They seem to go into the night, that's for sure.
I was the closer back then.
That's right. Yeah, right. I was the opener too. And so now I'm just changing. It's a 180-degree shift. I'm doing the party thing again. It's just healing is primary, and it's the same way. It's great. It's the same thing.
That's going to be again April 24th through 26th. If you're interested in hooking up with Dan for a couple days, do some serious work. That's Andrea Leonard that you want to contact. 519-696-9397. We're going to take a short little break. We'll be right on back. Stay tuned. Hi there, this is Mark Minkola, the Natural Health and Healing Show. I know that so many of you out there are passionate about the latest cutting-edge nutritional information, would like to go on to that next level. I'm proud to announce that our new natural health care offices at Cohasset are offering personalized nutritional consultations. At Santi Holistic Healing, you'll experience an informative, individualized nutritional consultation by one of my finest personally trained nutritional experts. Your consultant will test you for specific food allergies and supplements. Together, you will chart out a personalized, optimal nutritional roadmap that will detail your healthiest foods and nutritional supplements, even specific doses. If that's not enough, we also offer relaxing healing massage at Santi Holistic Healing. Whether it's nutritional consulting or healing massage that you're interested in, we at Santi Holistic Healing are prepared to give you the healing experience of a lifetime. Call us at 781-383-3393. That's 781-383-3393. for the healing experience of a lifetime.
Hi, I'm Rita Brokowitz. Most mediums give our deceased loved ones a voice. As a spirit artist, I go one step further and give them a visual. Join me on Thursday evening, June 4th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Holiday Inn in Rockland for an evening of learning about and experiencing messages from the higher side. To register, call Candida at 781-834-2728 or register online at healthylivingvideo.com. Again, 781-834-2728. Your loved ones are waiting to speak.
Alrighty, welcome back. Of course, we want to remind everybody that immediately following our broadcast, you can listen to Dr. Julie Johnson and Beth and the whole gang, and they'll be on 10 more minutes. Boy, this hour goes by fast, Dan. Amazing how quickly this hour goes by.
Wait till the weekend. That's just going to be a flash.
It's going to be a flash, absolutely. I know. I did an all-day 10-hour seminar about 3-4 weeks ago, and it felt like 20 minutes.
Right.
That's how that happens.
Lose a sense of self, time, and space.
Talk about the importance of purpose in life, living connected, living in concert with your purposefulness.
It's one of the questions as young children, they sort of like, who am I? Where did I come from? And it carries through with us into our adult ages where we're still questioning, what's my purpose? Who am I? What's going on? And as a side note, I spent 17 years in school, but I never got the answer from school. I was like, what happened? What an investment that was of time. Would have been nice to have at least come out of school saying, I know my purpose. So we're going to solve it for all the listeners tonight in 30 seconds.
Fire it up.
Your purpose in life right now is to fulfill your desires. And if you don't know what you really desire, your purpose in the morning tomorrow is to start finding and discovering or creating what those desires are.
Of course, you're speaking to people's spirits, their souls. Their
Absolutely.
Souls. You're not speaking to people's egos right now saying, oh, good, I desire to go out and eat 2 pizzas and smoke a pack of cigarettes.
Well, in essence, if that's their current level of consciousness, then they must have to fill up on that desire in order to actually move beyond that desire. So if they still crave, want, defend, and hold on to that, then they're still holding on to it as part of their process. So I'm definitely wanting to see if that's your real desire. That's the introspection work that you want to do with that ERT, or the emotional response technique, is to find out what it really truly is. But don't be fooled by denial of what your desires are, that you're going to get somewhere better by denial. Let's start to absorb. Now,
but you know something, it's like the old joke that talks about the department store. And they say that if you want underwear, you go to the first floor. If you want the silverware, you go to the 7th floor. When you talk about people fulfilling their desires, mm-hmm. You're talking about fulfilling the desires in a way that if the spirit is being addressed, if you're like in your workshops,
right,
you're coming from the heart and soul,
yes,
and you're addressing people in that level.
Yes.
So when you give them that information to fulfill their heart's desire, their soul's desire,
mm-hmm.
You're talking about silverware in the 7th floor. You're not talking about buying that stuff down in the lower floor.
Well, here's how it works. The body does not lie. So if you are truly living out your true desires, you're getting healthier. If you're living out the false desires, you're actually getting more unhealthy.
So what about the folks that are miserable because they say, I've got 4 kids to feed, but I hate my boss and I hate my job, or the person who's in a relationship that they're saying, oh, this relationship is miserable, but it's familiarity, or what do you say to those people?
Well,
within context of what you just said regarding purpose and fulfilling their joys and their
right. Right now, they are actually giving themselves what they want. They're always taking in what they want in order to awaken to what they truly want. In other words, it's almost like They're doing activities.
It's a fail-safe.
Yeah, it's like they're doing what they don't want to do it in order to get to what they really want to do.
Could we say that that was true for your 6 confrontations with cancer too? That in a way that you were producing the short-term effect that ultimately was designed to get the long-term response?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it all works itself out. The universe is perfect, doesn't make any mistakes. There's a fail-safe built in.
It's all healing is primary. That's all that's happening.
Yeah, you goof up, you bump your head. You bump your head enough times, you stop bumping your head. You stop goofing up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so you just keep bumping your head.
Until you get tired of doing that.
Until you get tired of doing it.
So the idea that some folks don't know if they have the courage to heal.
That's an excuse. They do know.
They do know, but they're making a false choice, or what?
Yeah, they're defending their stand by saying they don't know.
So what do you say to those people that say, I don't know if I have the energy or the courage to heal? Because it takes a tremendous amount of energy. It takes a tremendous amount of courage.
Yeah, so their energy is being dissipated into activities that no longer give them energy.
So your suggestion to them, your retort to that is what?
Stop doing the things that are draining you and start doing the things that bring you some joy. Listen to music that brings you joy. Even if you're on your deathbed, in a sense, start using your imagination. Put things in your filter system, your eyes, your nose, your ears, that aliven you.
And what about those folks out there that are determined to make everybody around them happy, even as they make themselves miserable running around?
Amicable people, they want to be loved. They have what's called the love greed. Everybody has to love me. So people pleasers is another archetype, so to speak, that they don't want to feel unaccepted, so they have to please everyone.
But it is an equal opportunity disease producer, though.
No, 100%.
You know, and it's just amazing the number of folks out there that just think, if I just keep doing enough wonderful things for everybody around me, to my own demise and my own dissatisfaction, and don't include myself in the process of love, then I'll be fine. Not quite.
No. You're the center of the universe.
Another way to bump your head.
Yeah. And, you know, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So if constitutionally they're strong, they can sort of hold that back. And sometimes if I go and give them a nutritional program to give them more energy, it keeps them in the dysfunction because they have more energy to keep the dysfunction alive. So they're stronger to keep dysfunctional. So sometimes I have to take food away so they don't hide or get the energy, so they actually generate enough intensity to actually surrender.
Dan Hegrich, through disease and human pain and suffering, has survived cancer 6 times. And he has learned that healing is primary. He says the pain and suffering was not for nothing, and the understanding has risen. And, of course, the understanding must be shared and is being shared in his world. I'm going to give you the last word.
Hope to see you at the workshop. Make healing primary tomorrow, even if it's just waking up and the first thought that comes to mind, just go for your breath. See how you're breathing tomorrow morning.
Dan, thank you so much.
No worries, Mark. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Always great to have you back home here and to have you revisit with us. And
we'll be in touch. I'll be local now.
Sounds great. I look forward to it.
You bet.
And, of course, folks interested in watching this podcast, with the thanks out and the kudos go to Adam Ing for making that possible. And watching this program is something you can do now by tuning into our website every Tuesday. That should be up. We've got a whole archive of those. www.maxhealing.com. That's, of course, one word, maxhealing.com. You can also listen to the broadcasts, any of the past history of broadcasts that we have stored on archive. And we certainly welcome each and every one of you here every Sunday night at 8 o'clock to listen to the Natural Health and Healing Show live on 95.9 WATD. Until next Sunday, this is Mark Mincola reminding you all, please be wise, be aware, be well. Make it a healthy week. Good night.
Thank you for joining Mark Mincola for the Natural Health and Healing Show.